welcome back. I do apologize for not having any sound on yesterday, so if you were tuning in and there was no sound, I apologize. I will go through some of the things we went through yesterday and just repeat them today, because it was actually one of my best streams ever, and so it was a bit of a bummer not to have sound on, and not even on the separate recording did I manage to capture sound. But it seems to be working now, and I really hope so, because otherwise I'll be very sad. But I want to just pick up on the things I talked about yesterday about how we can plan our work and how we can make these LLMs work better for us. So if we go to our whiteboard, what we talked about yesterday is normal development process, right? So we start with a starting point, and so let's assume we're here. We call that start, and where we want to get to is the end point, somewhere up here. And in an ideal world, what we would do is we would just have a plan that takes us directly from start to end. Now, laying this down on a flat line. Oh, let's just redo that one. Laying this one down on a flat line, we get something that looks like this. In reality, this is too much for a human to do. It's too much for an AI or AI agent to do. And so what we need to do is chop it into pieces. And that's what we normally do in normal project development. We normally first divide it into milestones. And then within milestones, we are making features that we want to do one by one. And this gives us our roadmap. So this is a very simplified version of what's actually going to happen. So I think in a normal development process, what you would see is we go a little bit this direction, then up here, then over here, then maybe somewhere diverging here, coming back in, and then continuing towards our end goal. And so this is the process we want to replicate for AI agents. And so the first thing is to have a vision document. And what we did do yesterday was we developed this. Wait, where did my mouse go? Yeah. Ah, there. Okay. What we did do yesterday was we developed a. But oh, that one is here. Let's find that one. You'll have to bear with me for a second. I forgot to get Claude down on my screen. This one down here. So what we did yesterday was we developed a vision for what this RPG game should look like. And so we gave it a prompt explaining what we are trying to do. It came up with a bunch of different options for us on how we could build this feasibly in Rust. And it came with suggestions of what works well together. And some of this we've experimented with in the past. So amongst others, we have built stuff with Bevy. And so one of the design decisions we made yesterday was to stay with Bevy and stay with Rust for front end as well. And at the end, along the way, it drove out all these nice architecture diagrams, which is one of the newer features in Rust, that it actually can draw diagrams now. And that's pretty, one of the newer features in Claude, not in Rust. One of the newer features in Claude, that it can write these diagrams now, which is pretty cool. It gives you a very good idea of what the full architecture could look like. And so this is exactly what we need for our vision document. So our vision document was a markdown document just describing all the different aspects of this. Then what we did next, we took this and put this into my prototype program for one-up code. And if you recall, what happened yesterday was that we put it in here saying, okay, here is the vision of the project we want to do. Now, please break this down into smaller parts and create tickets. Now, what happened yesterday was that there was a bug in my program, and so the whole thing just crashed. I've since then fixed the bug, and it turned out to be a pretty tedious one, where if you're having multiple V8 instances running in the same process, their memory can conflict in some fragmented way, which has caused me a great deal of trouble, and I'm actually still working on fixing this properly. But the bottom line is that I managed to get this now into tickets by just repeating, please try this, and having the app crash until I eventually got it to not crash. And you'll see here that what it then did was it was running the TypeScript tools that we have implemented, or that I've implemented into the system, to build out a comprehensive plan. And so the way this works is that if you have been following the news, Cloudflare put out this exciting research where they said, well, actually, MCP tools was a mistake. We should just have made agents work natively with TypeScript. And so this is what OneUp code does. So whenever it has to do things, it will actually do all of the things through TypeScript code rather than MCP calls, which I think is pretty cool. And yeah, with this, it generated a ton of different tickets for us. It also labeled them. And so if we go back to our backlog here, we should have let's see if we have that there yet. Did we get it to label it or not? It actually seems that it failed at labeling it. Okay, so maybe that's a bug in my program. So I might need to work a bit on that. Let's just check. Yeah, so that seems to have not worked. Let's see. Take 1, 2, 1. That's definitely 1 from the thing. And just check. Yeah, so it failed at actually adding the labels. Okay, so there's a bug in my implementation here. The tool does not properly add the labels as it should. But this just means that we'll need to find the tickets manually and then implement them one by one. Now, the really cool thing is that once you have your tickets, you can create these work streams. And I actually did this with the first ticket, and the first ticket is just setting up the workspace structure and all of this. So nothing fancy going on here. And you'll see my prompt here is, could you implement this? Which is a really, really poor prompt. But because OneUp code makes sure that the context is that it has the ticket information, it has all of the things it needs, it can just go ahead and work out all the information it needs and then ask me if there is anything it doesn't understand. And it ends up drawing these nice diagrams of how our use cases relate and our requirements, our design documents, how they relate to the requirements. And in the end, after approving a bunch of things, it worked out that it should do how it should do the structure. And so you'll see that along with this, we have all of these different requirements of how things should be structured. And we can now run these things against the code that we developed. So this is very similar to what we did in the first 8 days, where we played around with this ACE framework to try to work out, can we get the agents to work better by providing better context? And this brings us back to one of the key parts I want to talk about, because we've now seen that we can break down the vision, and we go back to our whiteboard here and say, okay, well, now we have all of these points here. So each of these points may amount to a ticket, and inside a ticket, what we would typically do is we would apply exactly the framework that I have just shown you, which is called the rational unified process, I think it's called. The short is RUP. And so basically what this does is, so for a ticket, the first thing we do is we create a bunch of blobs. And these blobs we use to create context pieces. So for instance, for task 1, we might require the 2 first blobs. For task 2, we require these other 2. And for task 3, we might just require the third one. Then once we have these tasks, we finish the tasks one by one, and they go into our feature branch. And this will result in us having a final version of what we're actually trying to do here. And then the final step in this is, well, now we've built it out the way that we should be doing it. And so what we really want to do as the next thing is to refactor our PR in such a way that we get small reviewable PRs. So we take the PR now, we break it down into small PRs of bite-sized, roughly 500 lines, and create these new PRs that then eventually will go back into our code base that we have here. Okay, now with this, the key point here is that because we are breaking it down into this rational workflow, we have all of these blobs, which make sure that we have really great context for every piece that we want to do. And this is really where my work has started to change significantly, because up until December this year, what I've been doing is I've been applying this 5-step framework that I developed, where you first get it to write out a objective, then you from that define what does the actual tasks look like, and then after that you go and you implement the tasks one by one, and then at the end you check whether the tasks were done the right way. This works great, but there are so many manual steps in it. And so what I really want to do now is just take you through what it looks like to apply this framework I just threw out here, and hopefully convince you that this is not half bad. Well, actually, it's more than not half bad. It's pretty good. So let me try. Keep in mind that this is still a early prototype. And so if we go here, we do this, we go back here and say, well, actually, let me just do one thing first, because one of the things I haven't done is I haven't created a repository for this thing. So let me just quickly do that. Okay, so repository created on Git, and now we go back here. We add the status. And let's see what that was 251. Okay. It's a little bit of silence here. So we have here all of the things we're changing. And let's just go ahead and commit all of this. The foundation, actually, let's just copy this text here. And go ahead and press. Oh, wait. Let's see. Yes, okay, so this still needs a little bit of testing. Right, then I make the same mistake again. Let's remove that one. Okay, so as you can see here, this is clearly beta software, as it says right here. There are still quite a few bugs I need to fix before this is launching. But the great thing here is we have now submitted it or committed this to Git, so we can go ahead and we can close this work stream in just a second. All I need to do is merge it here on GitHub. So we're just going to do that. And then after that, I press close work stream and we're done. And go back to this one and then just do it. Cool. So now our new stuff is in here. We're ready to proceed with the next ticket. And so I'm going to just briefly walk you through how this framework looks like. So this is what we call the ACE framework. The ACE framework is going to cover much more than just this part, but this is basically the dev cycle of the ACE framework. And if we go back here, we have now only one work stream, which is the main work stream. And then the next ticket we want to do is 552. And so 552 is right here. You can see here, this is about configuring the shared crate and the core types. And we have some acceptance criteria. And yeah, I think that's about it. I can see here that one of the things I probably need to incorporate into this is that this should have a reference back to the vision document, because as a ticket, this is not sufficient. It actually is missing quite a lot of the stuff that we have in the original vision document. And I think that is a very good point. So I need to improve some prompts. And then I need to make sure that we get the vision documents up here and that can feed into the to the work here. And then we need to have sub agents that are actually pulling that out. So that's definitely something that I need to do. But I'll leave this on my to-do list for now. So we're going to start the work stream. Once we press start work stream, it will ask us which server we want to select. So by server, what it really means is it's choosing what repository we are working on. And so we're just going to go with this one. Then it will automatically fill out these fields with what is the right type, all of these things, what is the base, so on and so forth. And we just press create workstream. Once we've pressed create workstream, we get the workstream coming up over here. It's not active yet. It will become active as soon as we press on it, and we will have an agent available that we can talk to. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm just, for the sake of it, let's just go ahead and say, we need to implement this ticket. And then, yeah, with that, we are also going to just copy the vision document in. And all right, here is, please read the ticket. For completeness, here is the vision document. Now, this is going to be exciting. I'm curious what it will come up with. Just pressing there. And so what you see now is it starts working here and it does a few things. Like it reads the ticket, gets the description, and it then gets help on how it's going to plan. And it starts exploring the code base. It reads the file structure and all of this. Now it has a clear picture, it claims. And so the next thing that's going to happen is that it should start creating artifacts. So that means that if we go back here in just a bit, we should, so it asks whether it can create artifacts now. We should start seeing these things populate here. And let's see, are these from yesterday or are they actually from today? I think they're from today. Let's have a look at what it says. Okay, yeah, so date definitely from today. And set up in it. That seems to be from yesterday. Also, why is this not referencing the right? That ought to reference the ticket. We see, okay, there's definitely new ones coming in now. But I am super confused here. Why does it not use the ticket prefix? Instead, it writes Oasis 2. But this is not, that can't be right. Interesting. Let's just check out what it has actually done here. Create requirements. Okay, so actually these might be the right ones. Okay, right. So player position is definitely one of the things that are in here. And this one, well, the thing is that all of these ones are called, just check something here real quick. See, okay, I need to write down the bugs that we're finding here because we're finding quite a lot of them. So regardless, this is basically the workflow that we have previously been discussing, right? Where you have the different use cases. Within them, you have requirements, and within each of the requirements, you have references to design document, test cases, and so on and so forth. You have the individual tasks here. You can see I still need to do a bit of work on the view here because it's overflowing, but you get the tests and all of that. Then together with that, you actually get a plan formulated for what needs to be done and what has been done. And you can see it remembers the task that we did yesterday was already done. Somehow it was supposed to incorporate the ticket ID into this. It doesn't do that. I suspect it's because that I might have a bug where it expects a number, but in this case we're using linear, which does not provide numbers, and for that reason we might end up with some problems here. And so I need to fix that. But regardless, right, we get a full plan here with here are the things that needs to be done, and this is the order in which that they need to be done. This means that once it's done with creating all of these things, it can start implementing it, and it has actually started doing that as well now. It should have asked us, it should have stopped and asked us for approval. It didn't do that. That's a bit disappointing. But this is one of the things that I've repeatedly found to be hard for these kind of systems. That is to get them to act exactly the way you want every time. And they have a tendency to just skip parts of the process if they can get away with it. And this is something that I will definitely aim to have fixed before the first version is coming out. Okay. Now, with this said, what is the overall vision for a workflow we are going for here? Well, we have now seen how we build out this process. So we have we have a vision. We've taken that vision, we've chopped it into smaller pieces. We take each of the pieces and we divide it into smaller tasks. Well, first we divide it into artifacts, as you saw. And once we have the artifacts, we are mixing those artifacts into tasks, and the tasks are then being executed into the feature branch. And then after that, we're going to restructure this into small consecutive PRs that can be reviewed one by one. What we did not discuss yet is the following. So what will this look like when you're going through this? Well, so when you have your PR here, what I imagine is that we will have a root folder called changelogs. Inside changelogs, you will have a ticket number, and inside that, you will have all of your design artifacts. So the designs, use cases, test cases, tasks, and so on. So you have a complete overview of what was actually done in this particular task. And that will lead us to that for every change we're making in the code base, we have a very, very strong reference to what was actually done. And so when you look at each of these points here, well, you will have a corresponding folder that, I don't know if I can move this one across, or maybe I just make myself small, right? So you have the relation between one of these dots over here and the changelog is this folder here, right? And what this does is it makes that for every change we've made in the code base, we have this very, very strong set of artifacts that helps us guide the future work we will be doing. And that is pretty much it. Right, so this is the flow we're going for. And now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use this flow and so I'm going to continue developing one-up code while employing this flow and getting to a point where we actually build out this 2D version of the Oasis. And so just to recap from yesterday, the vision here is to basically make a GatherTown copy, but with the caveat that we want objects to be programmable. We already showed this in the first videos that we could do quite a lot of different things. So there was no problem getting Lua scripts in. It was no problem getting a WASM engine in. And now we want to take these concepts that we played around with, and we want to build out a small 2D world where we can extend the map, where we can program objects, and just think about how cool it could be for somebody to build out a arcade machine and then make that playable. And so I think this could be a really, really fun way to build this virtual space where people can meet. And with that, I think we're pretty much done for today. So I hope that I gave you some inspiration for how you can change your workflow and what you need to do in order to get more structure. I appreciate that it's a lot of steps that I'm laying out here, and in my case, these steps work out because I'm automating as much of it as I can. But I hope you'll play around with it, and just I hope some of this is valuable for you, and you actually get to change your workflow and just experience how well things are going to work once you have these accurate prompts that show you exactly how you can get the code generated super efficiently compared to what you otherwise would. So what I've found is that when I do this with creating many small blobs, I can usually execute much faster features than I otherwise would, and this is super cool. And it's my hope that by doing this, we'll get to the point where we can actually scale this to a full-blown software development team of AI agents ran by a single person. And that's why we are taking on these ambitious projects and trying to see if we can do something with them. Because if we can do it with in an ambitious project, we can do it with just about anything. Unlike all the other approaches where you start out and you're only doing toy projects and you don't really allow yourself to fail. We're going to do something where we will definitely fail. But the point is that if we can figure out what doesn't work, we can figure out what is it we need to change, and then we can get to the point where things are actually working. And I'm so excited to get to that point. So I hope you enjoyed this live stream, and I hope to see you again next time. All right.